Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
yeah, and we are here with Julia Brennan. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about you. Because you've kind of blown up all over Spotify, and you're originally from Minneapolis, and I think pre-2020 you were maybe hanging out more in Los Angeles than around here.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so you kind of nailed it. I lived in Minneapolis my entire life. Always done music. It's always been part of my life. It really kind of started, like this music journey started in 2016. I was about 18. And it was a very insane whirlwind, but I'm here. I'm back in Minneapolis now. Now I'm 22 and I'm releasing my second EP this January, and it's just kind of come full circle.
And how did what led you to the leap of kind of getting found or taking it more seriously, or how did that transition happen for you?
It was very unexpected, very odd. So I went to a very musical school, choir, like singing was very predominant there. And then I think the summer before my senior year, I'd always loved acting, and I decided I want to act. That's what I want to do. So I started to do these showcase events where, you'd go and perform, and they were like, if you can act, act. If you can sing, sing. If you can dance, dance. Do whatever you can to just get exposure. So I was like, well, I like singing, but it's probably not what I'm going to do, but I'll just do it to like get more exposure. So I did all these acting showcases, and then I did a singing showcase. Did not think anything of it. Was hoping for callbacks on certain acting things. And a few months later, I got a call from a lady in New York, and she goes, "Hi, I'm looking at your headshot and your like music reel that you did." And she's like, "I'm really interested in connecting you with a few people." And I was like, okay, I'll just go with it. I'll bite. I don't know what this is. So they connected me to this guy down in Florida who like developed musicians or something. And he basically just told me to start writing. And he was like, you need to write your own music because that's the only thing that's going to differentiate you between everybody else is your own music. And I was like, okay. And it kind of worked out really, really well because I was 17, 18 at the time, and I had journaled since I was 10. So writing was like second nature. I loved writing. And I was like, okay, I just have to like put all of my journal entries into, with music. I just have to make them songs. So I started doing that. I wrote like 5 songs, and then he was like, go see this producer in Nashville, record a couple of them, and just go try it. So I did. So I wrote like 5 to 7 songs. I picked my 3 favorite and recorded them down in Nashville. And that was the winter of my senior year of high school. And I got photos done. I did the whole thing like I was going to put the music out. And then I was like, I don't know when to do this, how to do it. Like I had no idea what you're supposed to do. So I just shelved it. I was like, I'll wait. It'll work out eventually. So I finished, no idea
like
what I'm doing. Yeah. Like it's winter, it's Minnesota. I don't know what I'm doing. Music was so like that whole music industry world was so foreign. So I kind of just shelved it and I waited, and then I graduated high school, and then I enrolled at the University of Minnesota, and a month out from going to college, I broke my collarbone. I attempted to ride a motorcycle. I hit a tree. It was a very not fun day. So I broke my collarbone, and I was like, you know what? This is perfect. I can't do anything. I'll just put it out. I have time. I'll get it out before I go to college, and then I can kind of rinse my hands of it, and at least I did it. And so I put it out, and I put it out on all the platforms and iTunes and Apple Music, all the things that I could figure out how to do. And then I reached out to our local KDWB 101.3 station, and they used to do a really big segment called Make My Monday, where it's like, do you want concert tickets? Do you want a shout out for your birthday? Like, how can we make your Monday? And so I emailed in a request, and I was like, hey, I'm a local artist. I would love if you would make my Monday and play my song. And I sent them the link, and I got a text like 2 days later from a random number, and they're like, hey, Julia, we want to make your Monday. Can we call you on Monday at 8 a.m.? And I was like, yeah, that sounds fine. And my first thought was I'm going to be put on with like, an intern in a back room, and they're just going to be like, thank you for your submission. Like no expectations, but I didn't put together that 8 a.m. is like smack dab in the middle of the morning show. So I was like, well, we'll see what happens. So they called me on air at 8 a.m. And I still joke with them to this day because I thought they were going to shut me down, because they said right from the beginning, they're like, we don't do this. We don't play local artists. Like this isn't something that we do. And I was like, okay, thanks. And then they're like, but we're going to play 60 seconds because we can get away with that, and we want to give you that. So they played 60 seconds of it. And within 3 days, I had emails from like 3 different labels and a publisher because it started charting because they were playing it. And they're like, who are you? And why is your song on the radio? Like, we don't know who you are. You're not signed. Like, how did this happen? And so and then they invited me to perform at their KDWB State Fair booth. And it just like ramped up really quickly all in this month. And then I still moved into college, and I was there for Welcome Week. I was there one night, and then I went home, and all this was happening, and the labels are flying out to meet me. And the night before college, I think it was Labor Day at like 11 o'clock, my parents were like, why go to college? Just take this opportunity and just run with it. Go as far as you can. You can go to college in 2 years if you want to. And I never had considered that. I didn't think that was an option. Like, you can just not go to college, because I had just grown up always knowing high school, college. And so they were like, you can always go to college. You'll have time to do that, but you won't have another shot at this opportunity. So like 11 o'clock at night, the day before classes start, I dropped out of all my classes. I deferred. And then I went and I moved out. And I remember everybody there, because everyone had just moved in. They were just standing in the hallways all watching us, my entire family. And they're like, are you leaving or are you coming? And I'm like, I'm leaving. And it's the day before classes. And then a month from that, I flew out to New York and I signed with my first label. And that was 4 years ago now. Yeah, so it was very unusual to say the least.
Kind of dumbstruck. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's weird. It was amazing.
Because I just have to, well, tell me just a little bit more about the showcase.
Yeah.
How you started. What is that?
It was, I don't think it's around anymore, but it was called AMTC. It was like a Christian program. I'm trying to remember what the acronym stands for. But it was like, I'm trying to remember how I got involved with it. I think there was like an ad on the radio, and there were all these hubs. Like, if you were in the Midwest, Chicago was your hub, and you would fly to Chicago and you would work with acting instructors and singing coaches, and you'd pick the categories that you want to perform in, and they would work with you on all these things. And then there was a big showcase event in Florida at like the end of the year that like hundreds of the talent would come to and just perform. And there was like all these casting directors that would come, and music people, all these people in the industry, and you could give them your headshots and you could perform and you could book meetings with them. And it was just like this major talent showcase. And I don't think it's around anymore. So I got it in a good window, because a few years after I went through it, they had to shut down. But yeah.
I just think it's amazing, because and then there must have been some trepidation when you got the call. Like, is this?
Yeah. Oh, there was a lot. Yeah. Cause I got a random call from a lady in New York, and I had never submitted, and I asked her how she had gotten my headshot. And she goes, I don't know, because I had never submitted my headshot to the name of her company or the person with her name. Like, I only picked a few people that I really wanted to submit with, and she wasn't one of them. And I don't think she was even on the roster. So neither of us had any idea how my headshot ended up on her desk. But she was like, I have it, and I looked you up, and I'm interested. And I'm like, it was very strange. And even when my first label and the publisher started contacting me, I'm like, this is a joke. Like, one of them was so cute. They emailed me and I didn't respond fast enough, so they Facebook messaged me, and they're like, hey, I'm from this label. Like, I'm a legit person, I swear. Yeah. And I was so hesitant, because you hear all the horror stories. So I sent them to my lawyer, and I was like, are these real? What am I supposed to do? I don't know what to do. Yeah.
I just find that amazing, because I would feel that, well, when I was much closer to your age, I think somebody asked me if I wanted to be in a calendar, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, there are 2 types of calendars, and I'm not a cute kitten. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be your first instinct, I think. And I think there is kind of a Minnesota sensibility of, no, that's not.
Yeah.
Good for you for taking it that far. And it's so funny. I'm going to ask you about the music here in a little bit, because and you were extremely talented. But that doesn't, but luck also plays a role. You know what I mean? I mean, your luck is unbelievable. I can see why somebody would call you. Your voice is incredible. But
yeah, thank you.
That aside, and then, I mean, imagine what would have happened if you hadn't broken your collarbone. I meant eventually you may have found this path.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's weird how it all ended up. My dad actually loves to point that out about the collarbone, because he was the one who was trying to show me how to ride the bike. And he's like, well, I mean, if you didn't break your collarbones, maybe I helped. So he loves to point that out.
That's funny. That's because he's saying it to your mom even more. It's okay that I did it. It all worked out.
So, no, it did. It worked out like almost too well. It's strange.
That's, well, it's now I have a glimpse of kind of the up and down, especially with the collarbone, the up, the down, the up, the down. I can only imagine when you left the dorm, the people were like, well, she's the first to go. I mean, like, I guess she couldn't cut it.
Yeah, and it was
from the outside, that's what you'd see.
Yeah.
So tell me about you've got, and the songs that I know that have come out are Pure Love came out the most recent, Pure Love, and then was it How Do I Feel, and then Casualty.
Yep. Yeah. So Pure Love was kind of I don't know if you know much about Pure Love. It was kind of a very spontaneous, not planned thing. It was actually done with Dave Ryan from KDWB, who helped me start my whole career. He kind of like wrote a joke song on the radio, and Stephen Fallon, who were on the radio show with him, they were kind of, giving him crap about it, that he needs a real songwriter to help him. So he called me, he goes, can you help me finish writing this song? So I did, and we turned it around in a couple weeks and put it out, and that was Pure Love. And it was not planned at all, but that kind of became my first single. And then How Does It Feel and Casualty, both have been in the works for actually a couple years. So it feels so good to finally put them out. But yeah, How Does It Feel, Casualty, and then I have 3 songs that will be coming out in January with the EP. And those songs were all done a couple years ago, and they finally gotten through the process of everything.
Well, I wanted you to tell me that the process of the songs were autobiographical, and the final chapter was Pure Love. That's what
that would have been nice. I should have lied.
It's funny because I was listening to Casualty, and then I'm sure I went to go get myself a drink, a Diet Coke, and it came back, and all of a sudden Pure Love was on, and I was like, oh man, I love that.
That would have been nice if it was like the culmination.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there is hope. There is hope. No, are these songs, man, you are lucky. I mean, to play with, and again, it's not to take away from your talent at all. You are to do a song with Dave Ryan, that's awesome. That makes my day. That just makes my day. But now the other 2, Casualty and How Does It Feel, are these coming out of your 10-year-old journal? Are they?
Maybe not 10-year-old, maybe like 17-year-old. Feels a little bit better. But yeah, I'm very, very, very picky about how I write and what I write. So all of my songs are either very or at least somewhat inspired by, feelings that I've experienced, things that I've been through, and I draw from, other people's stories and other inspiration, but the feelings are very real, whether they were mine or someone else's. Like I really like to draw on that, and I'm very picky about kind of the way that I describe things and the way that I say things. So they are very like personal songs to me, whether they were my feelings or someone else. They are very personal to me, and I think that's one thing that's really important to me in my music, is that it feels like my music, that I can relate to it, because if I can relate to it, other people can relate to it. So that's that's one of my main things when I write. It's like I want it to be honest. I want it to be, and that's actually the name of my EP is Honest, because I'm very honest with my music, and I want that to be something that I'm portraying, because those are all real feelings.
How does a 10-year-old start journaling? Like, that's a big commitment for 10 years old, I think.
That's a good question. I remember actually the first day that I did it, I don't know why it stuck, to be honest, but I found a composition notebook under the seat in my mom's car. And I picked it up, and I was like, whose is this? And my sister was in the car with us. She goes, oh, that's mine, but you can have it. So I was like, okay. And so that night I sat down and I started writing just what I did that day. And I go and read back now, and it's horrendous, but it's hilarious. And almost every day since then, I would disappear for a few months and come back, but it just stuck. And I'm not sure why, but I just fell in love with saying anything that I wanted to. And and I've even had like friends in high school that have gone through tough times. I'm like, right. It's the best thing, because you can say anything you want, however you want to, and there's no rebuttal, there's no whatever, you can get everything out in however way you want. And yeah, just from a very young age, it just stuck. I just liked having like a place that I could go and tell all my secrets to, and yeah, it weirdly stuck, but yeah.
I was gonna say, you seem to have a sequence that just leads and leads and leads, just with your collarbone, college, journaling,
Yeah.
having all these avenues. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It lines up very weirdly well. Yeah.
Are there any pearls of wisdom from the 10-year? I also have journaled, and I know I have kids, and I've seen some of their journals from a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to read a 10-year-old.
It's
Went to school today, wore new shoes. My teacher stinks. That's had my favorite lunch. But are there some that you kind of look back at young age and go, whoa, that's pretty.
I feel like when I look back, and just even like in 6th grade, like the boy that I liked, and I would fully put it out there, and I would go into detail about how my friend was being mean. And I feel like what I really appreciate about doing that, not only do I have very supportive parents, and my mom would sit with us every night and we would talk about things. Like, my home was always a safe place to talk about things, but I got very in tune, which is what I credit kind of my writing to. I got very in tune and very comfortable with saying how I feel and talking about how I felt, talking about what I was afraid of, what I wanted, putting my feelings out there became very natural to me. And writing it and saying it and allowing it to be out there, it helped me kind of be okay with that and accept that, and almost like to do it. Like, I like to talk about things. Now I talk a little too much about my feelings with people because I'm so open. I like expressing things. I like getting it out there, and I've become so comfortable with doing it. And I kind of credit writing when I was young, because I kind of taught myself it's okay to like put it out there, putting it on paper, reading it back to yourself. It's very therapeutic. And it's like, I kind of learned that very young. And so I kind of have now done that even more so with my music, like put it out there, like let people hear it, get it out. Like it's a very good feeling.
How is life in 2020 for you? I mean, it sounds like you've moved back home, and does move back home mean moving back to your city, or does that mean moving back to your twin bed in the
So it, like you guys are saying, the lining up stuff is very strange. So we were not supposed to, so I grew up in Plymouth in a very, very tiny little house surrounded by like woods, and very small house. And about 2-3 years ago, we weren't going to move until my brother graduated high school, which would have been this past summer, I think, right before quarantine. So it would have been the midst of quarantine. We weren't going to move. But 2-3 years ago, we found the house that we're in now, and it was perfect. And it was in everything. It was lined up way too well. We moved in like 2 months. It was not planned. We were like, I guess we're moving. Like, we found this house and it's happening. And 2 months later, we were in this house. And so now that 2020's happened, all of my family's moved back into the house. My sister and her fiance left their apartment. I moved out of my apartment, and all of us are back in this house. So there's 6 of us and 2 dogs in this house. And we're like, very often we talk about, we're so thankful we moved early, because we probably would have killed each other if we stayed in our little house together. So now it's like everybody's got their space and their rooms. And like this room I'm in right now is kind of like a little music room. It's got my piano in it, and I can shut the door and shut everybody out. So 2020 has been very strange, but very thankful that we can all be together, but in our own little space. So it's worked out very well. It's definitely been a weird year, a slow year, music wise, but slowly but surely we're going.
The songs that you have coming out now, the EP that did that start before or after, March 15th or whatever
Yeah. So thankfully, another very great lineup. I had the songs pretty much done. I started them 2 years ago. They were recorded. They were not produced, but they were really solid demos. But I needed to go back in and kind of re-record some things, get them produced, do all the kind of cleaning up things to finish them. So February, I had 2 trips to LA booked for February. I was going to be out there almost the whole month. And it was January, and COVID kind of started, and we were like, do you still go? What do you do? So the first trip, I went out there for a week, and I re-recorded everything. I finished them completely so I could send them to a producer. I got them fully done. And then I came home, and then I was about to go back, and we canceled my trip because COVID started. And so throughout COVID, but since I had gone on that trip and finished them, we were able to send them to the producer, and he was able to get them done. And then we were able to, finish all the steps and produce them throughout quarantine, which we wouldn't have been able to do unless I had gone in February to finish the vocals that I needed. So yeah, so my job was done the vocal wise in February, right before quarantine hit. And then the next few months were spent sending them to people to finish them.
Nice. Yeah, you have some amazing timing.
Thank you, knock on wood. So
Yeah.
far, so good.
Yeah. Now, have you been able to do anything creative since COVID started? I mean, or since the pandemic?
Yeah, I still write here, and I have gone out once to LA when it wasn't, I'm trying to remember when that was. Kind of when they were predicting the lowest point, or like after the peak or whatever, there was some point that they were predicting that it would be a low for a few days. I booked like a 4-day trip out there, and I was like, I have to do it because I don't know how long this is gonna last. I need to get out there and do something. So I recorded, I think, 3 more songs that trip, which was a couple months ago. And then writing here is pretty much as creative as it gets here, but staying busy with it.
But now you've written as many journals in the last 6 months as.
Oh my gosh, there's nothing else to do. Yep.
It's got to be hard, and it's got to be interesting to have everybody home.
It is. It was really interesting at first because obviously adults are, the older you get, the more set in your ways you become. So we've got my parents and my sister and her fiance and me and my brother and 2 dogs. And the first month was a little crazy. Everyone wanted to be away from everyone, but it's gotten weirdly great. Everybody loves being together. My family's like very, very close. So we hang out, we play cards all the time at night. And it's weird now. I told my sister and her fiance, they get married next fall. And I told her, I was like, but you can't move out though. Like, it's going to be weird now when you leave. What are we going to do? Because I just go downstairs, just sit on her bed and force her to hang out with me. I'm like, you can't leave me now. Like, I don't want to do that. So yeah, we're almost a little too comfortable being around each other now.
That's good. That's good. I mean, because I have 2 daughters, I have 3 daughters, but I have 2 in college in Canada.
Oh, wow.
We haven't seen them since last Christmas, and I don't think we'll see them this year.
Oh, that's so
I know. So I'm very envious of your situation.
Oh my gosh, what are they doing in Canada? That's so far away.
College.
Like, is it like a special college? Canada's.
Oh, well, here, you can tell all of your friends that Manitoba has reciprocity with Minnesota students.
Learn something new every day.
I know. You have a friend who thinks college is not affordable. You just have them call me.
That's so cool.
I know. I try to fit. We're going to have to move on in 1 second. I try to fit that into every conversation. Every Uber driver I've ever had knows this.
I love it. That's a great thing.
Yeah. But I think it's fantastic that you all can get along. So, I mean, because we all have families.
Yeah.
Times, worst of times.
Yep. Yeah. I'm very, very thankful that I'm very, very, very thankful. Yeah.
And you've got the EPs coming out in January.
Yes, January 15th.
January 15th. Are you able to do anything? I mean, you have a following that goes well beyond Minnesota.
Yeah, surprisingly, and I'm very, very thankful for it. Yeah.
It's well earned. It's fantastic. I mean, I think that's how will you be able to recognize, celebrate what's your plan?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I am hoping to, I don't know when I'll actually be able to do, I don't know when live shows will come back, but I'm hoping to do some little maybe live stream release party or a little live stream concert, some way to kind of interact, because I'm really excited about it. And I know it's different kind of hearing the music versus seeing it be played, but who knows how long that'll be. So I am hoping to do something with a live stream, like concert or little thing, but I'm not sure yet. I don't have anything down and scheduled, but that's the hope, something interactive and something that I can perform in a sense.
But we'll have to follow to see what's going on with that. I mean, obviously we speak to a lot of musicians, and you've been blessed with a lot of good luck, but as you said, and I think to you saying, you got everything recorded the first time when you were 18 or so, and then didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. What have you learned aside from, I had a friend who said, if you can be smart or lucky, choose lucky every time. He's a tech engineer. Did well in .com era. Yeah. If you lucky, nothing surpasses lucky. But what have you what have you learned? Because now you know how to do things, as you said, you've been doing it now. What have you learned that you could pass on to?
Oh, I would say there are definitely a few things I've learned. Definitely to trust your gut, because when I started at 18, there were things that I didn't feel if they were right, and I didn't know, and I knew what I wanted. They were, people were kind of saying one thing and I really felt strongly about it, but I didn't know anything about the music industry. And looking back, I wish I would have said, nope, you want that, do that. Follow through with that. If you think that's the right thing to do, that's what you want, do that. Because in 2 years, you're going to look back and be like, I should have done it my way. This would have been so much better. So if you feel very strongly about something, whether it's about a lyric in your song or a person that you want to do an interview with, or you don't, or you really want something and you need somebody's help, push for what your gut says and what you really, really, really want, because nobody's going to do it for you, and nobody can read your mind. So if you say, oh, I kind of want to do this, and they don't really understand, no, this is important to me, they're going to move on because they don't understand that it's really important. So if something's important to you, make it known that it's really important to you. So that's one thing, is trust your gut and, fight for the decisions that you want. And then the other thing is, I'm a very big believer in, things happen for a reason and God has a plan. I'm a very big believer in that. So when I broke my collarbone, I was like, oh, it's going to ruin my, college move-in, and I'm not going to be able to have a normal first week, and blah, blah, blah. And, when I first signed to my label and pulled out of college, I'm like, everyone's going to think I'm a college dropout. Like, always looking at that moment and what was wrong with it versus 3 years, 4 years later, I'm like, I wish that I had moved out of college faster and I had jumped at that opportunity. And things happen for a reason. They do line up, kind of like what we've been saying this whole time. Things lined up so weirdly, but in that moment, I could never see that they were lining up. You can only see a few years later that it all lined up so well. So trust the moment. God's got a plan. Everything happens for a reason, and you may never figure out what the plan is, but it unfolds, and you just have to kind of let it unfold. And so at this point, it's like with 2020 and the waiting game, and it's so frustrating, but I'm like, you do what you can in the moment and you just trust the process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And it's, I think what seems to your ability to lean into it, even in those moments when you maybe didn't fully trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you had some trepidation, when you had some nervousness. So
yeah, just letting go. And I joke with my mom, I've always prayed for patience. And they say, if you pray for it, God's going to put you through situations that teach you patience. I've learned a lot of patience and I'm not enjoying it, but I'm learning it. But so that might be a slight regret, is asking for patience.
Like, note to self, do not pray for patience.
No, it has been 4 years of learning how to be patient, and it is not fun. But this year I feel like has taught everybody a little bit of patience, because everything is so out of our hands. It's like, you just got to let go. And my mom always says, let go and let God, because there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's working. I mean, it's been a delight to talk to you. I mean, it's fun to hear how things have, but I can imagine in the day, you break your collarbone right before, I can only imagine the tears.
Yeah. My freshman year of college and my dream school, I was so bummed.
I just,
Yeah. But then here we are, and who knows, if I had never broke my collarbone, like you said, maybe I wouldn't have ever had that time out where I was like, this is perfect, I'll do it right now, because I would have started college and just moved on. So, everything happens for a reason.
I have a question besides Dave Ryan.
Yeah.
Is there a local Minnesota artist that you would ever want to collab with?
Local Minnesota artist. I feel like the answer is yes, but I am not. I need to be better about knowing my local artists. I do love, I almost opened for them once, and I met them at some show, a Cities 97 show, but the band Yam House. I think Summer.
I knew you were going to say Yam House.
Yes! They are the nicest guys. They reached out to me like a couple years ago to like open for them, and it didn't line up. And then I finally met them at a show, and they're the nicest people. We like shared a dressing room and just had a blast. They're the nicest guys. So yeah, they're one of the few Minnesota artists that I actually like know of. I follow the tabloids and like Billie Eilish and all that, but I love them. They're fantastic.
And you're right, they could not be nicer.
I know. When I first met them, I'm like, this is a band of dudes. They're gonna be dudes, like they're guys. They're not gonna be nice, and they're the nicest guys. They're fantastic. So I'd love to somehow collaborate with them, whether it's a song, whether it's just performing, opening for them, performing with them. They're so much fun. They're so nice.
That would be a great lineup. They are unabashedly boy band.
I love it.
Well, because I write music reviews, I saw them at the Amsterdam, which is a very small place in St. Paul.
Yeah.
I think I felt like I was at a Beatles, just the screaming of the girls. And I kind of had to wake my way up front to take a couple of pictures.
Yeah.
I think what's more along my lines is I think I'd seen a fairly hardcore punk show the night before, which is one thing for me to lose my hearing at something like a punk show. That's a little, I was like, this is twice as loud as Motorhead, for God's sakes. It was just, but they could not be nicer if they tried.
They really couldn't, and they just have a very unique style to their music, and it suits them like none other, and it's fantastic. They're great. Yeah.
Well, I might know, right? I know someone who works with them. I might just whisper that in there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That would be a fun lineup.
I was gonna say, you got to take advantage of sitting around in Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing else to do. Might as well, learn some about my local musician friends. Yeah.
There you go. They'd be good ones to start with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, tell people where they can find you. I'll include this in the notes too, but.
Yeah, so I'm on I have a Facebook page, Julia Brennan Music. I'm probably most interactive on Instagram, which is also Julia Brennan Music. I'm on Twitter, I think just Julia Brennan, but I'm on Twitter, but I'm bad at Twitter. So Instagram and Facebook are like, if you want to contact me or see what I'm up to, those are the best things. And it should all be Julia Brennan Music.
Right. And you've got a couple of songs that have recently come out and you've got 3 more that will be coming out in the EP in January 15th. And we'll be keeping an eye out to see how that makes that of that. So,
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take your luck and bring that into the rest of my day. It's just been a delight to talk to you and to hear how things are going. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Super fun.
Thank you, Julia.